What's up guys, welcome back to Renovation School. My name is Mustafa and I'm very excited to share this video with you guys. In this one, I want to show you how to make a beautiful fireplace wall like this. And I want to share a lot of tips and tricks in this video. I hope you like it. Let's get into it. As you can see, this wall was pretty boring, so my friend called me over to make this into a beautiful wall. So after talking to him, we decided to order a fireplace from Amazon. We waited a few days until he gets it. After he got it, I'm there to install it. So we decided to go with a built-in unit. As you can see here, I'm removing all those baseboards, the grill for that air intake, and the electrical plate covers. We had a lot of stuff on this wall that needs to be fixed before we can actually do our framing, which I'm going to explain those in a few seconds. I have to frame a new wall right in front of this one so I can install or mount that new fireplace right inside of it. The electrical code doesn't allow us to leave or bury any kind of a junction box behind closed drywall or any kind of a closed wall. So what I decided to do is to remove some drywall from this one and then turn the face of these junction boxes into the other room, which is located right behind this one. This way everything's gonna be to code and I don't have to worry about messing up the face of this new wall that I'm gonna be building here. Basically, if I wanted to move these to the face of my new wall, it was gonna mess up with my design. So for that reason, I decided to turn the face of these into the other room, which is behind this wall. As you can see, there's also a return vent on the bottom part of this wall, which is for taking that cold air to the furnace. So we're planning on putting a little piece of drywall on top of this one to cover it, and then we're going to open up the other side. So it is going to be active in that bedroom behind this wall. We also talked to a technician to come and install a return vent on a different wall in this room. That way we don't have any issues with the air movement and the mechanical in this room. I made a line about 6 inches away from this wall on the ceiling, so this way I know where exactly my top plate is going to be installed. And then I got my top plate and I screwed it right to the beam. I put my bottom plate down and then I installed one stud on the right side and one stud on the left side. At this point, I double checked to make sure these two studs are sitting completely level. And then I used 2 temporary screws to hold that bottom plate to the flooring that is existing underneath of this bottom plate. Now that my wall is completely nice and level, I installed more studs and then I made the opening for my fireplace. And then I finished up the framing, which I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. I also added a few more upgrades that you need to know beforehand before you put your drywall on top of it. So this is the finished job on my framing. As you can see, I installed a lot of support for the back of the TV. This way the TV mount can go right into it. I also installed some support for the mantel that I'm going to be installing later. So this part is for TV mount. I also installed an outlet. As you can see, the wirings are stapled and it's connected right to the other outlet that I turned it to the other room. This is a vacuum pipe that I used here for feeding the wire to my sound bar later on, which I'm going to show you the finish at the end of the video. There's a closet right behind this wall. My friend asked me to put another piece of pipe here. We're going to be installing a frame TV. The frame TVs come with a box. He's going to put that box right inside that closet behind this wall. This is the location of the light switch. If you remember, we turned the face of this box to the other room behind this wall. And then I used 14-3 wire to run this to a new junction box here. Later on, I'm going to put a light switch here. The light switch right now is in the room behind here. This will be removed and go on to the new box that I put on, and a regular cap will go on top of this outlet. This is inside the closet. My friend is planning to put that box for the frame TV here, and he's gonna push that wiring through that pipe for his new TV. Before I install my drywall, I decided to drill some holes through the bottom plate and then install some Tapcon screws, so this way the bottom plate is gonna be secured to the ground. Of course, I double check to make sure everything is nice and level before I screw it down to the concrete. The first thing I did was to install a piece of drywall on top of that cold air return, and then I installed the drywall to the rest of the wall. This wall is about 10 foot wide and it's located inside a basement. The way the stairs are in this house, I couldn't use any drywall longer than 8 foot. So I framed this wall in a way that I only use 8 footers, and I am gonna stand them up as you can see here. This way I only have to finish 2 factory edges, and basically the amount of taping and finishing, sanding and cleaning is gonna be minimized to the max, and it is gonna be so much quicker and easier on me as well. I use my router to cut for the outlet and all the other holes that needs to be cut. The drywall installation was done, and then I put some mesh tape on top of these seams, and I made sure I push it pretty hard so it attaches 100%. Let me show you how I mix up my drywall mud. I normally throw some cold water in the bottom of my pan. In my case, I'm using Easy Sand 90. This is a quick set drywall compound. Keep in mind, if you're using mesh tape, you must be using Quickset. It's only designed to work with Quickset type of drywall mud. The other type of drywall mud that you can find in the store is the premix type that comes into boxes or buckets. Those ones are not recommended to be used with mesh tape because they're gonna shrink and they're gonna crack. The seams are not gonna be durable, so you have to redo this many times. So basically the reason why I'm using Quickset is because I use mesh. And the second reason is it dries up pretty quick, so I can apply my second coat and finish it up in 1 day. And also keep in mind, these drywall compound come in 5 minute, 20 minute, 40 minute and 90. So in my case, I'm using the 90 minute because it gives me a little bit of extra time to work with it. Some of these are not sandable. This specific one says Easy Sand on the bag. Make sure if you're using a compound like this one, double check and make sure that it's sandable before you actually apply it to your seams. So I normally mix the drywall compound underwater with my knife for a couple of minutes first, just to make sure it forms into a mud, and then I use this cake mixer to mix up the rest of it and give me that extra smooth finish. When I put this on, there's not going to be any kind of imperfection in my mud. It's going to go on super smooth and it's going to give me a very beautiful finish. I use my 8-inch knife to apply the compound onto the seam, and then I smooth it up. I do the same thing on the other seam as well. And then I use my 4-inch knife to go over all the screws and finish up those screws for the first coat as well. Even though I use 90-minute drywall compound, it normally dries up in around 40 to 45 minutes at the very max. So I waited about 45 minutes and applied the second coat. I'm very good at finishing drywall here. I'm going to show you a close-up of how it looks like when it dries up. I'm planning on finishing my basement pretty soon. I'm going to be making new videos explaining how exactly to finish drywall, what type of tools to use, what type of materials to use to get the best results. If you are interested, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of new videos coming. I'm going to be explaining a lot of cool things. I also have a lot of new wall designs that are coming this way. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. This is how it looks like when the drywall was dried up. As you can see, the finish is pretty nice and neat. So all I need to do is to use my pole sander and just go over the surfaces a few times just to make it super nice and smooth before I move on to the next step. I have this microfiber cover for my pole sander. I put it on and I cleaned up the entire wall. Most of painted stores normally have this in stock, so if you're interested in buying one, you can get it from Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, or any other kind of a painted store. If you remember, we built this wall about 6 inches, and on the left side I didn't use any drywall just to minimize the amount of dust and sanding and finishing of the drywall work. So I cut myself a piece of MDF to the size I needed. I used some construction adhesive and then I put it in place and nailed it down. Right after that, I got myself some new baseboard, cut it to the size I needed and nailed it down. To fancy up this wall, I'm using 1x3 primed MDF trim here. By the way, the actual dimensions are 2.5 inch by 5/8. I used some of this construction adhesive on the back of these trim work first, and then I put it on the top part of the wall, and then I start nailing it to the studs. And then I repeat the same thing on both sides and the bottom of the wall. I set my laser level about 12 inches away from the first pieces of trim that I installed on the sides of the wall. I applied some construction adhesive and then I installed a new piece in about 12 inches away from the first ones. And then I cut myself some smaller pieces to get that ladder shape that you saw at the beginning of the video. I applied some of that construction adhesive to the back of them. I put them in place. I used my level to ensure every piece is sitting nice and level, and then I nailed it down. As you can see in this picture, I installed 6 spacers on both sides of the wall to get that ladder effect. I'm going to show you how I did my measurement that I came up with that nice and even spacing in between these. As I said, I only needed 6 spacers, but because we have that top and bottom trim also, I put 7 pieces of trim right next to a baseboard and I measured the entire pieces together. In my case, this was 17.5 inches. I left the mark at 17.5 inches from the top of my bottom trim. And then I measured from the bottom of the top trim to the mark that I had. And then I divided this number into 6 because I wanted 6 spacers. In my case, this number was 10.5 inches. And then from the bottom of that top trim, I measured 10.5 inches all the way to the bottom. As you can see, the first divider has to be lined up with the center of that mark that we just left. And after that, for the rest of the dividers, we have to line up the top of the trim with the mark that we have. This way, you're going to have nice and even spacing throughout the whole wall. Using the same method, I added more trim to the center part of the wall so both these sides are connected. Once the trim was installed, it's time to apply the caulking. For this project, I used Alex Plus by DAP Company. I applied a very nice bead of this on all the seams and then I wiped off the excess with my finger. After the caulking was done, I allowed it to sit for half an hour before I come back with this spackling compound. I applied this to all the seams and all the nail holes on the surface of this trim work. This product goes on pink and it dries off white. It normally takes about 10 to 15 minutes to dry up, but to be on the safe side, I came back after half an hour. After half an hour, I got myself a sanding sponge and sanded down the entire surfaces with it. And then I cleaned up the entire surface using my shop vac and a damp rag. And then I started applying this primer to the whole surface of the wall using my 1/2 inch microfiber roller and a very soft brush. I applied 1 coat of primer sealer and 2 coats of this good quality paint. As far as the sheen, I picked the eggshell for this wall and it turned out super nice and beautiful. After the first coat of paint was done, I finished up the receptacles and that light switch. Once the electrical was done, we installed a frame TV on top of this wall. These frame TVs are slightly different. Basically, when you turn off the TV, it shows your favorite pictures and it works just like a picture frame. I made a custom fireplace mantle for this wall. The link is going to be in the descriptions below if you want to learn how to make one of those. This is the bracket that goes on, and then the mantel sits on top of this. It's finally time to put the actual fireplace into the wall. I also have a separate video on how to install one of these. The link is also going to be in the descriptions below in case you're interested. So this is how this beam looks like. At the back side, we have that French pleat system. It's just like that. I have to just put this above that and slide it down. It's going to sit there. And at the same time, if you have a secret stash, you can place it in here and nobody's going to notice it. So this is how it comes off. You just push it up and it's off. If you want to put it back on, there you go. Just push it down on top of that and it's done. The last thing I needed to do is to put this plate cover back on and fish the power wire for the soundbar. At this point, this fireplace wall is done and it's ready to use. I also like to wish a very happy birthday for my good friend Mr. Shervin. I hope you enjoy this as long as you live in this house. Let's take a look at the final result one more time. I really hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please make sure you hit that like button. If you have any questions, please make sure you drop a comment in the comment section below. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of more wall designs. I'm pretty confident you're gonna love those ones as well. I also have a specific video explaining how to make that fireplace mantle and how to install this TV and also this fireplace. So please make sure you engage for more videos. Thank you very much. Till next time, peace.